The new Indiana Jones film is doing poorly, to say the least.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Being one of the most expensive films ever made, I don't think this is the result Lucasfilm and Disney had in mind. But what will come from this? What will happen to Lucasfilm? And more importantly, Star Wars? Believe it or not, this could have drastic consequences for the franchise. So with The Dial of Destiny, I won't be speaking on the quality of the film. I have friends who love the film and know plenty who thought it was the worst thing ever made. Indiana Jones, while extremely popular at the time, is not a mega franchise like, say, the MCU or, of course, Star Wars. So when even more time goes by and they decide to do a fifth one, even though the story was already completed, arguably multiple times, I can't help but think the film didn't necessarily need to be made. At least not at the absurd cost it had. At the end of the day, there was virtually not a lot of hype or want for the return of this character. It wasn't like The Force Awakens, and this being one of the most expensive films ever made, you really can't bet your cards that way, Disney. So the production costs on this film are going to be right around $330 to $350 million. Yes, you heard that right. $350 million. So what is going on? Well, based on opening weekend box office numbers, the film genuinely might not break $250 million. I would be surprised if it reaches that. But that means it would only lose, say, $100 million, right? Well, not exactly. The film has that already astonishing budget, but we also need to add on another $100 million for marketing. That number is a rough estimate. So we have that, plus movie theaters take around 50% of the ticket sales. So when we all do the math, at a $450 million debt, the film would need to make almost $1 billion just to break even. Again, Indiana Jones is a very popular and loved story, but it's an old story about a single character. This isn't like Star Wars, Marvel, or even DC. Unless a miracle happens, this will be one of the biggest bombs in cinema history. So first Solo, and now The Dial of Destiny. So the next question is, how will this impact Lucasfilm and their future? We already have a handful of canceled and or shelved projects, or simply put on hold projects. Many that plenty were looking forward to. Some of these include Rangers of the New Republic, the Lando series, and somehow they even lost the license to Children of Blood and Bone. And I will go on about the numerous canceled movies later in the video because it does connect more with Indiana Jones failing. Basically, my point is, things aren't the best at Lucasfilm right now, and Disney in general. And I'm not some major hater of these companies, it's not that at all, but we have to look at the facts here and acknowledge the issues that are currently present. So where does this film bring us with Star Wars? I think it's safe to say that the current state of Star Wars is not the greatest. Whether you're enjoying the new content or not isn't a point I will argue in this video, but if we look at the objective merits of the franchise, I think we can all agree things could be better. We've had an absurd amount of shelved films, fired directors over creative differences, consistent delays, that it makes it difficult to get truly excited for the franchise when a new project is announced. And what is a project that I've been extremely amped up about? That would be James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi film. We did get some more news regarding this movie recently, and I might make a video covering it, so subscribe if you want to see that. This film, in my opinion, has the most potential out of all that were recently announced. If done right, this movie could be the perfect, fresh start the franchise needs. Going back thousands of years with no legacy characters to rely on, no connecting story elements besides things like the Force, of course, really has me hoping that this could be what turns things around for the franchise and the fandom. I'm excited for the Rey film, I really am. But that movie naturally already has controversy behind it. This film arguably has the perfect foundation for Lucasfilm and for the fandom. However, James Mangold is directing it. Now, James is one of the best directors, and I loved his work on Logan. Him directing a Star Wars movie was a great decision by Lucasfilm, but if we take history in account, Star Wars seems to have a curse of a director being hired, then they go to make a not-so-great movie, and then are fired, or their movie is on hold due to creative differences. This happened with Patty Jenkins and her Rogue Squadron movie, Taika Waititi and whatever his story was going to be, Colin Trevorrow and his Duel of the Fates, which was originally what Episode 9 was going to be, David Benioff and D.B. Wise making a Dawn of the Jedi film, but then Game of Thrones Season 8 happened. Oh no. Do you see what I mean? It really feels like a curse. Will James Mangold experience the same situation? I certainly hope not. He's a legendary director and I need this film to happen. But Indiana Jones 5 losing Disney and Lucasfilm so much money, whether it was his fault or not, doesn't bring me much hope. If he is let go and this Dawn of the Jedi story is put on hold,
I'm done. Goodbye.
Now the next question is, what situation is president of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, in? I don't really like talking about Kathleen because there's just so much baggage and nonsense around her, but I can't help but wonder how she's feeling at the moment. Now I know, we've heard it thousands of times. Oh, Kathleen is fired from Lucasfilm. Bob Iger replaces Kathleen Kennedy with Steve Jobs. Kathleen is finished now. But I have been saying for a long time, I can genuinely see her retiring after Indiana Jones. This film did bring her career full circle. For those who don't know, Kathleen had worked on the Indiana Jones series since it started, with her husband Frank Marshall producing them. It would make sense for her to close her career off with this film, whether it would have performed well or not. I'm not some Kathleen Doomsday kind of person, though I definitely think Lucasfilm desperately needs new leadership, and I'm sort of working on a video about this, but it is a complicated subject. Kathleen Kennedy is 70 years old. Believe it or not, she's not going to be at Lucasfilm forever. At some point or another, she's going to retire. So do I think the film's poor performance will increase the odds of her retirement happening? I'm not so sure. No one really is at the end of the day, but it is certainly possible. In the end, guys, it is a bit nerve-wracking how poor the film is doing. Again, it's one of the biggest bombs in cinema history if the performing number predictions are accurate, which it's looking to be. I can imagine Mr. Bob Iger is not in the happiest state of mind at the moment, especially with Disney Plus's negative growth. The movie industry has been in a very odd spot after everything in 2020, but I feel a lot of this with Dial of Destiny is completely on Lucasfilm and Disney. Make another Indiana Jones film, fine, but letting it cost almost $500 million is nothing less than irresponsibility. Could this have drastic effects on the future of Star Wars? Most certainly, it probably will. Only time will tell. For now, I am looking forward to the Ahsoka show and have hopes of making videos on it if the story intrigues me. Thank you guys for all the support, and I do apologize for the lack of videos. It's just been a slow time for Star Wars. Let me know if you like this sort of Battlefront 2 gameplay format for news videos and whatnot. Just let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all in the next one.